Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with the team of Dragonlance Nexus. And today we're going to talk about their Conversion 5e book from the Dragonlance Classic Series. And just to give a brief explanation to my viewers, Dragonlance was the first game I ever played in Dungeons & Dragons. The first game period of role-playing ever. I remember I'll never forget my character, the Kendra. And despite such a unique first-time experience, I just fell in love with D&D, and I fell in love with Dragonlance. So I just started buying the books and started game mastering, and I always have a fondness for Dragonlance. So yes, let's introduce ourselves.
All right, I'm Chuck Martinell. Been on the Dragonlance Nexus team here for getting close to 2 decades. So I'm the old timer, I guess.
Hey, I'm Ed McKeel. I've been with the Nexus about 7 years. I've been doing the social media, and now I got roped into doing the layout design for this fun 5e book, which we're going to talk about tonight.
I'm Tim Shiflett. I been with Dragonlance Nexus, I guess, since 2007. So not quite as long as Chuck, but you know, pretty close. So yeah, and I got to do some writing for the Dragonlance 5e book.
Okay. Before we talk about the new book, let's talk about Dragonlance Nexus real fast for this is like the first time hearing about it. So is this website just dedicated to Dragonlance? Is it to the history of it, to the future of it? How would you describe the website?
Yeah, I describe the website as being dedicated to all of Dragonlance. It's dedicated to its past, its future. It's dedicated to the fans. The fans is what built this website. It came through a Trampus, started this website many years ago, around 2002, as a place for the War of Souls and things like that. It came together for 3.5. That's where it kind of got its roots, and then it kept exploding. It's still around today. We still run the Dragonlance wiki. So we have that going on. We do the Dragonlance Canonical podcast, and also the Nexus, which contains mountains of information on articles of research Dragonlance products, plus some fun adventures and twists and conversions we've done over the years. So,
okay, so let's talk about this book you're working on. How would you describe it? What is it exactly?
Well, you're familiar with the DLA book you're holding up there. This would be the 5e version of the Dragonlance Adventures book. We put a lot of love and thought and process. A lot of it we went back to the original design process and tried to mesh that up with the second edition, the 3.5, and then the 5e design process. So we pulled from all those things, and then we also pulled from the novels, characters and things, how they appeared in those novels. We tried to take that into a factor too.
Yeah, that's one thing that Chuck has really pushed quite a bit is that we don't want to just stick with what's been designed before, and I really appreciate about his leadership in that is that we're actually looking at the fiction, like the novel series, and how do we emulate that in the game.
Yeah, so. And so when we talk about the book also, you know, we're going to talk about our 5e roots of having the races, and we have organizations, but we're also pulling a lot from, Chuck mentioned the Dragonlance wiki, and there's a lot of lore and history about all of Krynn, all of Ansalon that you'll see in a few chapters of the book as well. So it's not just going to be splat, it's going to be some fluff.
Okay, so let's talk about the mechanical, technical aspects of the book. How many pages will this be? Is it coming out on Kickstarter? Is it DM's Guild? What exactly, or will I see? Will I see when I get this product?
I don't actually have the end page space done yet. It's probably going to be upwards of 70 pages is what we're looking at. I actually just tonight finished chapter 1, which is the longest chapter. That had about 15 pages in it. And that's just the races, going through Kendra Minotaur, all that. And we've been on our social media, we've been doing like kind of little page spreads of the last 3 weeks. You could see that on our Facebook and our Twitter pages. We've been sharing those as JPEGs. But it's going to have a lot. It's going to have everything that you would ever think of. And I'm rambling now. So the 2 rules guys, speak up, please.
So It won't be on DM's Guild, and it will not be on Kickstarter. DM's Guild only allows the published worlds that they've got going on. Dragonlance still does not meet that bill, so we cannot put it on there. But we will have it on the Nexus for free, available to anybody to download. And we can't do print copies for the same reason of the copyright issues and things like that. We don't want to get into that legal sticky mess that could get us shut down.
Yeah, the DM's Guild is only for things that WotC has released yet, and Dragonlance has not been one of them. But because the Nexus is a fan-created site, and we're not asking for any money for it or anything like that, it's going to be available for free for everybody to download. So it's really just a labor of love for us.
And a lot of other folks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm not gonna, toot our own horn. We kind of wanna we wanna beat Wizards of the Coast to the punch.
What's the conversion process like? What can players expect when they see your book?
Well, the main thing you're gonna find is we extensively did a lot of play testing. We did a lot of crash and burn through this process. I've been play testing things for with different groups for a couple of years now. So one of the things like let's dive into like the knights. How to create a Knight of Solamnia and make it feel like it's a Knight of Solamnia, not just another fighter class. We had to create a whole unique ranking system, which Tim actually came up with, and he did the same thing with the Wizards. But we also created a subclass in the fighter that allows you to enter the ranks as a Knight of a Crown or Sword or Rose, and you gain abilities depending on which level you're at and where you're at in your progress. So, and Tim, you want to talk about the faction stuff we did?
Well, we can discuss it a little bit. The factions, I really just pulled the rules straight out of the DMG for factions and applied them. That's one thing that Dragonlance has that I think that it's heavier in than just about anything else, is that there are all of these different groups of people. Factions seemed like a perfect fit for things like the Knights of Solamnia, Wizards of High Sorcery, various other things, the Holy Orders, the Clerical Orders, and all of that stuff. So with factions, it really was just about modeling or taking that framework of the factions that the DMG laid out and just kind of laying over it that, whatever it is you're talking about, like the Knights of Solamnia, how they work, how do you get in, what's expected of you once you're a knight, and that sort of thing, and how do you gain ranks within the Knights of Solamnia, that sort of thing. And like Chuck said, I think we did a really good job of adding options at the end of those chapters for each of the factions, so that subclasses, things that you can attach to existing classes, so that we're not completely reinventing the wheel. I feel like 5e 5th edition is very modular and it's very forgiving, and it's easy to kind of monkey around and tinker around with, and they do a lot of the work for you. It's a really simple system to work with. So I think what we did, I think Dragonlance fits very, very well within the 5e system.
Do you need to have the original books in order to use the conversion system? Does someone have a good knowledge of Dragonlance in order to play this?
So I think the best part will be that you won't. You'll be able to have this book and maybe the 5e player's guide, and you should be able to jump right in. Sorry, I cut you off, Tim.
No. You're absolutely right. You're saying exactly what I was going to say. I bet I would just add to that if you wanted to delve really deep into the lore, there are other books that came out in prior editions that are still valuable. They still have value. But yeah, if all you had was this, sure, and plus the player's handbook and DMG monster manual, yeah, absolutely, you could just hit the ground running. That's our goal anyway.
Yeah, because one of the things we do include is that fluff piece. We want to include that lore in this book of things that you, as a player, even if you're not familiar with Dragonlance, you can read about the past history and find out what's happened and what adventures lie out there.
Okay, so I assume then this book will help you if if you want to play Kendra, the half ogres, the Minotaur, all that. That book will give you the tools you need.
Yeah, we did. We did a Kendra conversion, and that was a long process too. I started converting Kendra Based off, it's probably been 5 years of Kendra conversions on the Nexus. And 2 years ago, I finally started looking at like what actually makes a Kender. They're not a thief, but they have these skills, these handler skills that you don't really translate well into like a character class. So how do you do that as a race? And over a lot of trial and error, and there's a lot of error when I designed this, I had a lot of
play
feedback.
testing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And a lot of arguing back and forth too.
Yes, so many argues. Our chat, we would just go back and anyway. Sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
It was a long process to design the Kender into a form that we felt actually fit close to a 2E version with a 1E abilities, and felt really fit the framework of 5E, but yet pulled in from 3.5 like the Kender's pouch list, things like they would have access to. Versus one time, one of the first Kender I designed was I was playtesting with him and the group that picked 2 Kender, and almost the entire session it was cliche Kender. They were just stealing from the group. Like and the ability was pickpockets, because I gave them as a rational ability to just be able to roll on a chart and see if they could pick someone's pocket. And these 2 people just abused the heck out of them until the fact the other people in the group were like, this is absolutely no fun. I'll never play with a Kender again. And I was like, okay, let's scrap that and come up with Kender pouches.
So for the rest of the book, will it contain information where it be about like dragon items like Dragonlance or Dragon Orbs, or anything about any of the unique monsters in Dragonlance? Anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. We all of those things that you mentioned, we have. Are you looking for examples or?
Well,
go ahead, Chuck.
As I say, we can touch a little bit on the Dragonlance itself. I mean, Dragonlance has over the years have really been all over the board for design. If you go back to 2E, it was whatever the hit points the character had, that was your damage. So if you have 100 points, you made the hit, you hit for 100. 1E, you had a definite point total. So for us, we tried to find some middle ground between the two, where if you're facing a dragon opponent, this land should be powerful, but yet we don't want to make it game breaking. You don't want it overpowered, and it's just like, oh, I have a Dragonlance, so I can slay dragons left and right. So we found some really good middle ground through that testing, and made it a weapon. We made the greater Dragonlance and lesser Dragonlance, known as Footman's Dragonlance. The greater is the mounted one, and we came up with stats for both of them that when players tested it and played it, they felt like they were the heroes of the story, and they felt like they were doing some good damage with it, but yet they didn't feel like they're one-shotting dragons.
Okay, so if you're making this book and you're not making any money out of it, why are you doing it?
Great question. That's the thing is, I've been doing. I've been doing this for a couple of decades now. Working on the Nexus because I truly just love Dragonlance. I want to see it going. It doesn't take a lot of people, but it does take the village to keep it growing. And so this collection we have here, we all have the kind of the same goal, but we're all from different walks of life, which is really a collection of folks that are, come together for unique purpose to build and design, and we're not looking for glory. At least I'm not. Ed is.
Yeah, Ed's the glory hound. No, Chuck and I are just here to have fun.
That's why Ed's name's in 2-point print on the cover.
It's just because I'm doing all the layout. That's why. No,
it's not.
No, no. I do this because this is my favorite gaming experience. I've started playing actually in Forgotten Realms, but Dungeons and Dragons, when it comes down to it, I like Kryn, I like Ancelon. Dragonlance is what always has kept me coming back. I love the books, I love the games. So I've been a part of the Nexus for a couple years now, and it's just not going to stop. And doing this was something that I love. So
yeah, and I think I can speak for everybody. This is a great creative outlet for us. Like, I don't know, there's something about just keeping your brain nimble and really taking, a concept and turning it into, numbers and stats and all of that actually work. And then going through the whole process of playtesting and somebody coming back and say, okay, this is good. And you can just put a stamp on it and send it off. And you're like, wow, yeah, that was fun. I created a thing. So yeah, that's really the joy we get out of it, I think.
All right, excellent. Is there anything about the book that I haven't asked you about that you want to share?
That's just the beginning of a couple of other projects.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. We're probably
Yeah, you
gonna.
mentioned, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you
Right.
mentioned monsters earlier, and yeah, we're just future plans are to kind of do a whole another source book for just specifically Kryn monsters.
I literally had to cut the extra stuff because it was becoming too big of a book. That was a lot of monsters and a lot of extra races and things, and it was just too much. The scope of our book was getting so large that, I have a newborn, as I mentioned before. I need to take care of my kids sometimes instead of doing this. So yes, all of the extra things that aren't in this book, it's going to go in this next book, and it'll be just as good or better, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and we have a huge head start in this next book because of a lot of the things we're move on to it. It's already been play tested. It's already ready to go. It probably won't be 70 pages, so
Yeah.
150.
Oh, good Lord.
All right. So anyone that wants to find this book or find all the other stuff, when is this coming out exactly?
Go ahead, Chuck.
It'll be out by we're shooting for the end of May, early June. We want to make sure. I mean, we're working with Ed on layout. I mean, the playtesting's done, writing is done. It's just how fast can Ed lay this out and do it in a way that looks professional, like he can do. If I did layout, it looked like someone took a crayon and just scribbled on the pages. So.
Right. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think the important thing to remember as far as waiting on the book to come out, May, June, early June would be great. But yeah, this is a volunteer work, and so we have to fit it into our regularly scheduled lives. So
I've given that a due date.
Yeah, and we're gonna make that due date. But I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it to some of our Patreon. They're gonna let them chew on it for a little bit of time before we release it out to the wider world. And Chuck, if you want to give them that date or however, that was a negotiation.
No, I was gonna say we're just shooting for the end of May. Like I said, that's not that far away. We're talking 4 weeks.
Okay, and for now, they could just check out the website DragonlanceNexus.com.
Correct. Yep.
All of our articles are on there, and you can fish through them. And then if you want to see kind of the previews that we've been putting out, just go to the Dragonlance or just at DL Nexus on Facebook or at DL Nexus on Twitter, and you'll be seeing all of the photos of the page spreads.
Okay, so one last question. Who is your favorite character from Dragonlance, and why is it Raceland?
my original favorite, obviously, it's always going to be Raceland. But as I grew up, my next favorite character is actually Catherine Twiceborn from the King Priest trilogy. And if you haven't read those novels, the third one is really hard to find. But I think outside of Tracy and Margaret's novels, that trilogy is probably the best you can read for Dragonlance, and he's one of my favorite characters.
I'll go next. Probably because it changes, like Ed alluded to, like it changes as you grow. But I'm currently doing a reread of all of the novels in chronological order, and so I'm still way back in the Age of Dreams novels, and I would have to say Vedvetsika, who is Vedvetsika, who's just the most enigmatic bad guy I have ever read in my entire life, and I still haven't figured him out. So,
my most favorite character from the get-go, and still is to this day, is Flint Fireforge. A lot of people say I have the same demeanor, so. But yeah, I like the Dwarven nations a lot for Kryn, so I've always kind of leaned that way. And Flint we're kindred spirits. Even I reluctantly apparently like Pink Kender, so.
You play a dwarf in our game, so you do well.
Yeah.
I think mine is Takissis. Why? Because I have issues. Yeah, excellent. So thank all of you for taking the time to talk about this. Again, everyone, check out DragonlanceNexus.com. I'm looking at the website right now, and it's fantastic. And I'm excited that this is coming out. I've been waiting for this forever since 5e came out, and finally I have this is going to come out. So I have a way to introduce this to 5e players. So thank you, gentlemen, very much. And to our viewers out there, be safe, get your shots, and be safe out there. Have a good day.